everyone, my name's Christy. Welcome to my corner. Thank you for joining me today for Flosstube number 67. And I am filming on Saturday. I usually film on Fridays. Today I'm filming on Saturday. I will explain why later on. But this episode is jam-packed. I have weaving, I have stitching, I have fabric experiments, I have a new stitch along and pattern release to talk about. I have, I don't know, haul and all sorts of things. But before we get to that, I want to welcome my new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me on my crafty and artistic adventures. And I want to welcome back anyone who's been with me for however long you've been with me. It's been great to get to know you in the comments here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And if you are not following me on Instagram, you can find me at Dr_Christy. I'll put that right here. And that's where I post pictures of basically all the stuff I do during the week. And that can include stitching and weaving. And this week I baked a thing and I put up some medieval manuscripts that I have today. You know, that's kind of that's where I kind of document my daily life. It's mostly stitching and weaving, however, mostly fiber arts. And you can also find me at my second account, which is the Spoolery, which will be right here. And that is where I post pictures of my vintage wooden spool obsession and also updates to my vintage wooden spool Etsy shop. I make jewelry and other and home decor out of vintage wooden spools, so you can find me at both of those places. This is a channel about embroidery and cross stitch and other textile crafts, including weaving a lot lately, and baking and history and the history of all of those things. So if any of that is interesting to you and you're not subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe and stick around. First of all, I have a big announcement. I found the original creepy baby. So Charla, I found him. He's gonna head your way. I am gonna scan him first, just so that I have a copy of him and I might use him for things, but I will send the original to you. So Charla, be on the lookout for that. This was a giveaway like 3 months ago and I lost him. So he is now found, the terrifying baby. And he will be leaving my house because he is haunted. So I kind of want to explain why I'm filming on Saturday instead of Friday, although I don't really have to explain, but I do try to keep on a pretty good schedule, although it's been flip-flopping lately. But I'm a college professor and my semester starts on Tuesday, and I have not taught in person in 2 years. I haven't taught in person since we left spring break of 2020, and I never went back to the office. So I've been really busy prepping classes and being anxious. You know, I'm a little bit anxious about this. I've been teaching online, which is a privilege. I totally get it's a privilege. On the other hand, I was also keeping the number of students down who were in the building because I offer to teach all online. And so I was doing my department of service as well, but they need me to come back in person next semester, this semester. So I'm a little bit anxious. I was teaching 2 classes. So I teach 5 classes. One of them is very small, but I teach 2 face-to-face classes and 2 online classes, and then I teach an extra little online class. My face-to-face class, one of my face-to-face classes did not have enough students, so that was last minute switched to online. So instead of being in the office 4 days a week, I'm only in the office 2 days a week, which feels less stressful to me. So I'm pretty excited. The class that I'm teaching in person is Medieval Islam, which is such a fun class, and we're going to do all sorts of cool things. We're going to do paper making one day. I got a grant to get paper making supplies, and so I think that'll be really fun. So that's kind of our really fun adventure this semester with my Islam class. But anyway, that's why I'm filming a day late, because I had all my syllabuses were due yesterday to the chair of my department, and so I got them to her. And then I just didn't feel like filming. I gotta be honest with you. I just kind of felt like hanging out and stitching. So that's what I did. So let's talk about finishes. I have one finish. It is not a stitching finish. It is a weaving finish. But I finished this weaving. And I love it. I wanted to experiment with weaving leather into tapestry pieces. This is eventually going to go on a spool like this. And I'm really pleased with it. And then this is the back, so you can see that the leather is woven through the warp strings. Yeah, I really like it. There are some things I would do differently, so it was definitely a learning situation, and that's a lot of what this is. This is like experimentation for me, but I really love it. I love the different colors and textures, and I love the patterns, and so I'm pretty pleased with that. So that is my my finish. It's not fully finished because it's not on its spool, but it's finished. And then I don't know if I showed this to you finished, but I finished this one a while ago. It's a little tiny one. This is the first weaving I did on my loom. And this I actually think I'm going to mount on a board. And if anybody wants to see how I plan on mounting, how to mount textiles onto a board, let me know. I can film it. I'm just waiting for the supplies. I'm waiting for some acid-free tape and acid-free foam board. Elmer's makes an acid-free foam board that I want to put this on to prevent any, you know, decaying or whatnot. So this is my first weaving, and this is my second weaving on my loom, and I love them. I do have a weaving whip. I might as well just get all my weavings out of the way. I have a weaving whip that I was hoping to have done for today, but it didn't happen, obviously. And it is going to be a landscape. So this is gonna be like, this is the ground. I hope that feels clear. They're like different hills. And then there's gonna be like a sunrise or a sunset, and it's gonna be sky. That is the plan for this guy here. So I was working on him last night. Oh yeah, I was working on him last night. This is what I decided to do instead of filming. And I'm happy with that decision. I have to be honest with you. I love how it looks. It's got all sorts of fun texture and movement, and it just makes me really happy. So that is my weaving whip. And that's all my weaving. So there you have all my weaving. So let's talk about my stitching whips. And I'll do cross stitch first. I have 3 cross stitch whips and 1 embroidery whip. And I'll start with the one I did the least on, and that is my modern folk embroidery, the River. And this is going to be a wedding sampler. I got married in September of 2021, and this is going to be a wedding sampler. I'd like to have it finished by September of 2022. And basically I'm going to put an extra rectangle right here between these two that's going to have our names and our wedding date. And this is going to go on our wall. I have a sign. So we're going to have kind of like a wedding wall, essentially. It's going to have that sampler, a couple of wedding pictures that we really like, and also the sign from my grandparents' winery. When I was a kid, my grandparents ran a winery in central Pennsylvania, and the winery is still there. I got married on we just call it the farm now, but I got married on the farm, and the winery is still there. The building is there, but the signs are down now. And my aunt had the sign, and she gave it to me as a wedding gift. So the sign that was on the front of the winery is going on the wall with as sort of like a gallery wall of wedding-y things. That was a lot of explanation. So it is being stitched on an 18 count Aida that I developed using an early photography technique called Cyanotype. And I only have the 2 outlines done. But I decided to print this using some lace that my cousins gave us for our wedding. So it's like white Aida. I put it in the developing solution. I soaked in the developing solution, let it sit overnight, developed it using UV light, and then washed it and stitched it. And it is being stitched in DeVere Yarns 72 weight silk in old gold. And this is the color of silk that I used for my flower bouquet. I made my bouquet, and I made a 3D embroidered flower as like the central motif. Here's a picture of it. I'll put a picture of it here, but it's using this color. So this is, I think, a lovely combination, and it makes me very happy. And so I'm going to continue talking about this because this goes into haul. I went to my local quilting store, and I got terrific tape, which is essentially very thick plastic wrap. And so it sticks to itself, but not to anything else. So it's holding my spool really, really well. And you can reuse it. So I highly recommend, if you have spools of floss, and those of you who use Sulky, I know that you have spools, I highly recommend this terrific tape, 1 inch. And it's by the Gypsy Quilter, which, you know, isn't a great name, but I think there are other brands as well. This is the one that my local shop had. I've also been doing more experiments with Cyanotype. So I think I'm going to talk about them right now, since it's just going to kind of flow into itself here. Let me fold this up. Oh, and I'm stitching this. This is a 12 strand silk floss, and I'm stitching it 3/1. And the strands are very thin. So it's very, this is, like I said, is an 18 count. I like how it looks. So I'm pleased with that. And it has a really nice shine, which I love. So I mentioned that I've been doing other experiments. And when I soaked that fabric in the developing solution, I soaked other fabric as well. And when I was on my walk with my dog, I found these fronds, these grasses, and this is so making a mess all over the place because it is just shedding its seeds. But I thought that this would make a fantastic, here you can see that's here. This would make a fantastic print. So I picked a bunch of them. It was a giant thing of grass, so I don't feel bad about it. And I did some printing. And so I printed these 2 pieces in the blue, so they're blue. But the cool thing about Cyanotype is that you can change the color. So if you put it in a sodium carbonate solution, it bleaches it essentially and turns it yellow. And so here's the first one I did. So here it is developed, fully developed, and also bleached. And once it's bleached, you can tone it with tannins. Basically anything that has tannins in it alters the color and changes it. And so things like wine, red wine, tea, coffee, those kinds of things all have tannins in them. And so I decided to put this in a green tea bath. And this is how it came out. And it's not, the color is actually not great. It's looking just kind of very brown. It's kind of a purpley tinge. Yeah, it definitely has a purpley tinge to it. It's not quite the color I'd hoped for, but I think this could be really beautiful to stitch something on. And this is on linen yardage, so it's not like a cross-stitch fabric. It might be an even weave, but I can't guarantee it's an even weave. But I can at least stitch something on it, embroider something on it. So that'll be really fun to play around with. So that was the first part of my experiment. The second part of my experiment is I wanted to see what happened if I did a Tannin Bath, so did sort of the purpley brown color over the blue, and then did the sodium carbonate bleaching bath. And so this is the piece that I did that to. So this is the original development here, and then I went over it with the green tea bath, so it looked like this, which essentially looks the same. And then I put it in the sodium carbonate bath, and it came out like that, which looks exactly the same on camera, but does not look exactly the same in person. This is a little more purple. Let's see if we can put them together and if we see a difference. Do we see a difference? Yes, see, you can see a difference. The front one is the Tannin Bath, then sodium carbonate, not bicarbonate, carbonate. The back one is sodium carbonate and then tannin. Either way, I think that they're really fun, and I'm going to have fun stitching things on them. The patterns aren't genius. It kind of looks like little water spouts. So that may turn into something. But basically, if you have something with a shadow, it will dye it. I'm stretching it and making it less crunchy because it's pretty crunchy. That also means you can print things out on like acetate and it'll create a shadow. So I'm going to play around more with this. That is my experiment, and that is my wedding sampler. The River by Modern Folk Embroidery. I've been working on my Heaven and Earth design. This is the Lady and the Unicorn, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. It is a medieval tapestry that's housed in the Musée de Cluny in Paris. And I am stitching it on 20 count Aida, ivory Aida, 2/1. And this is where I am. This here is halfway, a little bit more than halfway. And this is 2 colors. And I'm like practically done. I hit 1%. Practically finished. So I think I'm going to get my black because a lot of this area here is black. Oh, here's a picture of it. Sorry. I probably should have shown you a picture. I may have actually already shown you a picture and I'm just showing it again. But this here is a tree that is in black. So I have a black cone of doom, which is a huge cone of floss. I have a black one and a white one. And so I just need to put it on a floss drop and get it in my bag. And then I'm ready. Because this is currently how I'm keeping my floss. I have 3 colors so far. I figure, start small. I'm not color completing, but I'm definitely going cross country, relatively extreme cross country. Not the most extreme cross country, because like I said, I'm not color completing, but I'm definitely going cross country. My 3rd cross stitch whip is housed in my book bag, which means that it is my temperature pattern. But this is not my temperature library, because that I'm showing you next. This is my temperature drinks shelf. And I am stitching my temperature drinks shelf on a 14 count navy Aida. This is what it's going to look like. And I'm doing it 2/1. And I had started doing it where the glasses are the low temperature and the liquid is the high temperature. And I hate it. I don't want to stitch it. It looks garish to me, and I'm a garish kind of person, so I don't know why right? Like, I'm garish, but this to me, and I think it's this drink here. I think the green and yellow combo just hits me wrong. And I hate it. And you know what? Like, this is only 6 days in. 8 days in. This is only 8 days in. And I'm going to be stitching this with my mom tomorrow. So if I'm going to get rid of it, I got to do it now. And I think I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm just going to do it as charted with the gray glasses with the liquid. I think it'll look beautiful on this fabric. And that's kind of why I chose this fabric anyway. And then I'll want to stitch it again because I want to stitch it, you know? So I wanted to show you before I ripped it out. So that's where I am with this. It's disappointing and I wish it had worked out better for me, but I'm certainly not going to be upset about it. Right? I'm just going to not do it because like I said, if I'm not enjoying it, there's no point in me doing it at all. And I have all my flosses all nice and organized. And those are my cross stitch whips for today. Now I want to show you my embroidery whip, which is my hashtag 365 stitch project. At the moment, it's only the hashtag 5 stitch project. I've been busy, but I can catch up. Here's my piece. It is on I want to say a 28 count Monaco. It's just an even weave that I got at Michael's. And I got it because probably 60% of the stitches are counted stitches. And so I needed an even weave. I traced it on here, or I tranced the design on here using my new silhouette machine that my husband got me for Christmas. And it was a dream. I posted a short of it on here, and I also posted it on Instagram. And people seemed really excited about that. So if anyone's interested in seeing how I do that, also let me know down below. I'm happy to show you how I did that. But this is my hashtag 365 stitch project. And it is using, and my goal is to stitch every book in a different stitch. At the moment, I have a spreadsheet, which is always linked down below, of like 184 stitches at the moment. So it's a working spreadsheet. The Royal School of Needlework has a stitch bank, which is where I got a lot of the stitches from. And they just updated their stitch bank on the 7th, on January 7th. with 50 more stitches, I think. So I haven't had a chance to go through there, but I'm definitely going to do that. And it has tutorials and everything. And if I got the stitch from the Stitch Bank, there is a link to their tutorial in the spreadsheet that I have linked down below. So I honestly am not going to remember all the stitches. And the stitches are assigned at random, which is perhaps a terrible idea, but it is the idea that I'm doing. So the first one, and if I don't remember what they are, I'll put it right here so you'll know. The first one here is an Algerian Eye. Here we have a blanket stitch. Here we have bullion knots. This one is a double cross. This one, for the life of me, I can't remember, but it'll show up on the screen right now. Oh, this one is a fly stitch. This one is a fly stitch. So those are my 5 stitches. And if you would like to stitch along with me, I do have the, like I said, the spreadsheet listed down below. And you don't have to do it in the bookcase. I mean, you can just do squares, right? You don't have to like buy my pattern if you don't want to buy my pattern. But if you want to stitch the different stitches along with me, just draw out squares on a piece of even weave and stitch along. I'd love to see it. It's hashtag 365 stitch project. And I am recording as I'm stitching. So it's going to be a demonstration rather than a tutorial because I've never stitched some of these before. Like this one here that I can't remember the name of it. I've never stitched that before. So it's not perfect. It's a little wonky. See, it's like wonky. I'm not going to worry about it because that's not the point. The point isn't that it's perfect and that I'm good at it. The point is to expose myself to lots of different stitches. And that's kind of how I use projects like this. For example, this one, I stitched all of the books in a satin stitch because my satin stitch was like kind of shaggy. And now my satin stitch is so much better. So that's the point of this. I'm not going to be perfect. And that's why I'm not calling it a tutorial. I'm calling it a demonstration because I'm not qualified to toodle, toodle anybody in many of these stitches. Some of them I'm pretty good at, but some of them I'm not. So that is my hashtag 365 stitch project. And I will be posting this throughout the year. So those are my projects that I'm working on. I want to talk about plans real quick. And so I think I'm going to talk about my planner and just show you some things I did in my planner. I picked up some of these, well, they're supposed to be self-stick, but they were on clearance at Walmart and they didn't stick anymore. But it's essentially a zipper pouch that I can put stickers in. So now I have all my stickers here. As I'm working through this, I'm realizing that what I like to do is I like to use it as a planner rather than a journal. I thought I would enjoy these 2 pages where I am recording when I stitch every day. I am not enjoying that. That's not a thing that I'm interested in doing. I am recording new purchases, and this is any purchase that is anything craft related, not just stitching related. And I am enjoying the weekly spread where I write down what I'm working on and then like throw a little sticker on it. I did buy more of these stickers. These are stickers that came in the Black Needle Society resolution stitching box, which is where this journal came from. And I bought more. They're in the vault. If you're interested, they're in the vault. But I love them, and there are no crafting stickers out there, at least not in Michael's that I've seen. So I did that. I bought more of those, and I also bought a ton of sticker paper because I have my silhouette cutter, and so I've been making my own stickers. So I don't know if you can see in there, there's like a sewing machine, like an old-timey sewing machine. That's a sticker, and I'm just making my own stickers. So there. I am also planning out videos I want to do. So I will not have a video next Tuesday because that is the first day of class. So my next video will be Friday. And like I said, I am enjoying filling out the days. What I'm doing a lot of, however, is in the back, I'm filling out my finished projects. And this is all crafting finished projects. Well, not all crafting finished projects. This is my weaving and at the moment it's my weaving and my stitching. So I'm doing that. And I'm also jotting down ideas because that's what I really need space for. I need space to jot down ideas. The problem I have, and I wonder if I have a mild form of ADHD, because one of the problems that I have is that if I'm working, my brain is kind of pinging ideas. I'm constantly having ideas of things I want to do, things I want to do, things I want to do. And what I used to do was just like go do research on it and go down rabbit holes when I should have been working. So what I've started doing is I've started writing it down. When I have the idea, I write it down and then I can go back to it later. So I have spool ideas. I have cyanotype dyeing ideas. I have weaving ideas. I'm really into weaving at the moment. I have cross stitch pattern ideas. And I have embroidery ideas. And these are just things that I want to make at some point. And now I have them written down because, again, the other thing that happens is like you have an idea and you don't write it down and then it goes away and you knew you had a great idea, but you can't remember what it is. So now it's in my planner and I like that. And one of the things that I had planned on doing this week is I called it the claws out pattern, but it's actually the fangs out pattern. And that is art by a local graphic artist named Haley Gilmore. And you may not know her name, but she became really, really famous, or at least one of her pieces became really, really famous at the Women's March on Washington on January 21st of 2017. And this is that piece. I would love to chart this piece, but Princess Leia is a Disney princess and Disney does not like that stuff. So I'm not charting that piece, but she had other protest pieces as well. And so I really wanted to do a 5-year Women's March commemoration pattern in collaboration with Haley. Like I said, she's a local artist. She's a local artist here. She graduated from the university I teach at, so we know each other from around town and from other places. And so I contacted her and I asked if she would collaborate with me, and she was all for it. So one of the other protest pieces she designed is called Fangs Out, and it's this piece here. And I just thought that this was so fitting. All of her art is pro-feminist. I'm a very staunch feminist and very pro-women and women's rights. And I loved it just because it's so graphic and straightforward, right? It's very clear that the point of this is that we have to keep fighting and we can't always be nice about it, right? As women, we're often told that we should be nice and we should be quiet and we should make room. But this cat is not making room. This cat is not staying quiet. And I just really love it. And so I decided, well, I asked her if she wanted to collaborate with me on this and some other future pieces and have me chart them into cross stitch. And she said that she would love to. So I created a cross stitch pattern based on this. And I tried to keep the kind of graphic design printed character of it. And this is what I came up with. And I love it. And so I plan on starting that tonight. I'm going to start stitching it tonight. I will release it on January 21st, which is, I believe, next Friday. And my hope is to have it stitched by then, but I might not. And if I don't, that's fine. Like, I'm still going to release it with a digital mock-up, and that's fine. But I would like to start a hashtag. And this is not just a hashtag for this pattern. This is a hashtag for any protest piece that you are stitching. And it's going to be hashtag Still Marching Sal. Just because the immediate cause of the Women's March on Washington in January of 2017 are done. That does not mean the issues that permeate our society are done. And we need to remind ourselves to keep marching, to keep fighting for the rights of women And so I hope that you'll join me in that. And there are a lot of excellent protest pieces out there, a lot of excellent feminist pieces out there. And the amazing thing about cross stitch and embroidery and quilting and using those media for activism, like women's activism, is that those are the kinds of things, it's like so subversive, right? Those are the kinds of activities that people make fun of, right? They're women's activities. And so we have some fantastic men in this community, but the activities themselves are women's work, right? The textiles are women's work, and not women's work as like empowering, but like said as a pejorative. And so the fun thing about craftivism in fiber arts is that it's just so subversive, and it's kind of giving people who look down on women and who look down on women's work kind of like the middle finger or the two fingers, depending on where you are in the world. So I hope you will join me in the hashtag Still Marching Sal. Like I said, this will be released next Friday in honor of the 5-year anniversary of the Women's March on Washington. And yeah, I hope that you'll join me. I'll be stitching up a little storm for the next week. Well, until it's done, really. And then, and I'll be posting my progress on Instagram. But that's really my main plan. My other plan is to rip out the temperature drink shelf glasses. I'm going to see if I can leave the liquid in because, you know, no need to rip it all out if I don't have to. And restitch that in the, I think it's 02, which is a light gray, which I think will look beautiful on that blue fabric. You know, you got to do what makes you happy. So those are the two things I'm going to be focusing on for the next week. I do plan on stitching a couple more stitches on my temperature bookshelf, you know, but it's more complicated than just stitching it because I am trying to film it for posterity, for me and for you. Let's talk about haul. First of all, I don't usually show kind of random things I get at Michael's, but I went to Michael's today and I got this container. These are $14.99 at Michael's. So I wanted to, and this is the September. This is January 15th, I want to say, 2022. And so if you're watching this anytime soon and you've been thinking about getting one of these or you need a storage solution, this is great for DMC. This is what I keep my DMC in. I have one for DMC and it works great. But I got one for jewelry making supplies because my jewelry making supplies are out of control. There, I mean, I have bought, they're in boxes and stuff, but too many. But I wanted to let you know, $14.99 is a steal for these. I think they're originally like $40, so I wanted to show you that. I did buy some fabric. After Betty White died, I decided I wanted to maybe make some Betty White, some Golden Girls project bags. So I got some Golden Girls fabric. It says, just says the Golden Girls, and it's very, you know, the Golden Girls out on the lanai. I love it. It's very Miami. And there were other ones too. Well, let me show you the one I got. I got this one too, which I love. And this one has the some sayings on it. So Blanche is saying, "Isn't it amazing how I can feel so bad yet look so good?" And Sophia's obviously saying, "Picture it, Sicily." Dorothy's always been my favorite. B. Arthur was so good. "You truly are one chromosome away from being a potato." I'm pretty sure she used to say that to her ex-husband. And then Rose obviously is back in St. Olaf. So well, there are other fabrics. There are other Golden Girls fabrics, but these are the only two where they actually looked like themselves. Blanche in particular, Rue McClanahan in particular, was apparently very difficult to catch in like a sketch. Because she looks rough in a lot of them, but I got these too. Have you ever seen young pictures of Rue McClanahan? Wow, she was a stunner. And then I also got some Ruth Bader Ginsburg fabric because I liked it. I had to get to a threshold and I'm like, I'm getting protest fabric. I also got from Joann's this Dimensions hoop stand. So you put it this way and the hoop goes right here and it stands up. So I got that as well. again, to get over the free shipping threshold. I got my final Color and Cotton floss of the month. This is, I canceled it after this month. I just have so much floss that I need to use, and so I decided I was not going to get any more. But I got my last shipments. This is Monkey Grass, Quail, Maple Syrup. I love maple syrup. I use maple syrup for all sorts of things, or I have in the past anyway. Poseidon, and it's greener than it's showing up. It's a blue-green. And Blue Bonnet, which is like a periwinkle. So those are my last Color and Cotton floss of the month for now. I may go back once I use up some of my stash, but I need to start working through my stash. And in fact, the Fangs Out, I'm stitching it in the Called For DMC, which are these and black. But I think I want to stitch it again in a variegated. I'm going to try and find a variegated because I bet I could stitch that in with two colors. So I'm going to try and do that. I placed an order with Black Needle Society. I ordered those stickers, like I said, and then I also splurged and got the Christmas Carol book. I love me a Christmas Carol. You should all know this, as I was Ebenezer Scrooge for Christmas. I dressed up as Ebenezer Scrooge for Christmas. The Muppets version is obviously the best, but the book is so interesting, and so I'm excited. I don't know that I'll ever stitch them, but I really wanted to have them. Is that stupid? I don't know. That might be stupid. I was kind of having anxiety shopping, which I'll talk about later on as well. But it has 5 patterns by Erica Michaels, Heartstring Samplery, Hello from Liz Matthews, La Di Da, and Summer House Stitch Works. But it's just so beautiful. I had to get it. And I'm glad I did because it's sold out now. So I'm pretty excited that I have it. I'm very happy I have it. All right. I mentioned that I did some anxiety shopping. One of my problems is, I mean, it's not like a huge problem. I'm not spending myself into bankruptcy. But I do have a tendency in the evening when I'm tired and slightly bored, I'll go shopping. And so I went to a website called Darn Good Yarn, and they sell yarn and cross-stitch supplies and all sorts of things. And I got their cross-stitch project grab box. So this came in the mail, and I'm like, why did I do that? So I was talking to my husband about this, and he's like, I never shop after 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, that's so smart. So I'm instituting a new no shopping after 10 o'clock rule. I'm not allowed to shop after 10 o'clock. I'm also going to institute a no buy February. And in fact, I think I'm probably going to have a no buy end of January, no buy February. And this is like nothing. Like, I'm not going to buy anything at all that isn't absolutely necessary for my survival, because I've gotten in the habit of shopping when I'm bored, and that's not good. And we don't need all that stuff. I'm already doing a no clothes and shoes buy year because I have enough clothes and shoes. So this will just kind of expand it for a couple months. And that it doesn't include things that I'm already committed to paying for, like my Black Needle Society box, whenever that gets taken out of my account, but I'm not buying anything new. With that being said, let me show you what's in this box. Some of it's actually pretty neat. So it came with like random wool, and this is like crewel wool. It's a thin wool, but in random little bow ties. And then it came with little cross stitch projects. So it came with a little bracelet to cross stitch, a tiny little hoop, which I think is a pin. Yes, it's a pin. But I have like a million of these tiny hoops already. So it's a little hoop pin, a little metal necklace. And what I'm kind of thinking is, that I might take those mini masterpieces that a bunch of folks are working on that I did. Here's the one that I did. Right, I did this little mini masterpiece brooch here. I'm thinking of taking, maybe if I can find some small ones, and putting them on here. Stickers. I put them on my sewing machine. And then there are 3 cross-stitch trinket boxes. I have a black one, a brown one, like a craft paper one, and a white one. And they each come with like little patterns to put on them. But I won't use those patterns. Oh, my punches! I've been looking for these. I have my punches. I did not buy those. I mean, I did buy those, but not today. I have a wooden egg looking pendant, a metal circle pendant, a cross-stitch headband, which is a really cute idea, actually. That's an idea for folks. If you have a small band finish, like if you have a sampler band, but you only want the band to turn it into a headband. And a cross-stitch pouch and earring set, which is also kind of a cute idea. So these are cute ideas. They're cute ideas. I'm not allowed to shop after 10 o'clock. After 10 p.m. New rule. So that, my friends, is all I have today, I think. I'm sure I'll come up with something else, but that's all I have at the moment. So I will see you next Friday. There will be no video on Tuesday. I just have too much going on. And I hope that you join me. Oh, I'm so forgetful. So there is a hashtag for the temperature patterns. All of the temperature patterns I showed are available in my Etsy shop down below. I'm like the worst saleswoman. But the hashtag is Stitch the Temp Sal. I'll put that right here. I follow that hashtag, and if you tag me or use the hashtag, I will hopefully see it. And I've been liking them and commenting and sharing them in my stories, and it's just been so amazing to see all the different patterns, all the different stitching happening. And the fun thing is that I would say half the people who are posting are in Australia, and half the people who are posting are in the Northern Hemisphere. And so you have like this opposite of colors, which is amazing. And finally, speaking of Australians stitching my temperature pattern, I want to give a shout out to Wordy Stitches, who has done an amazing tonal color palette, which is fantastic. You should check her out. I will link her down below, and her YouTube name is Wordy Stitches. But definitely go check her out. She's brand new. She just posted her second Flosstube, and she has a whip parade. So if you're into those things, you should go check her out. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining me today on this rainy Saturday here in Mississippi. I will see you next Friday, and I hope that you are able to do all the crafting that brings you joy. So please take good care of yourselves and have a good one. Bye.